What's up, everybody? My name's Tyler. You're watching Mom's Basement MMA, and I'm speaking with one of the top amateur flyweights in the country. His name's Bryce Woerner, and he's going to be fighting very soon, December 21st at Nashville Underground. Bryce, welcome back to the program, and congratulations to you. I know life's been crazy outside of the cage. I know you're about to be a father here pretty soon. I think that's amazing, man. I wanted to offer my congratulations to you and the better half.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, man. I'm super excited. I got a whole nother level of just motivation and just, man, I can't even put words to it. But I got a whole nother layer of life that's just pushing me. Yeah, it's great. I'm happy about
I remember being a father for the first time. I remember how powerful that was for me. And I can imagine, like, you being a prize fighter, it's got to be like, that in spades, right? I mean, like, you're going out there, you're putting your mind and your body on the line to provide for your family. I know you're an amateur still, but I know you carry yourself like a professional. Can you tell me a little bit, like, we're at the twilight of this amateur career now, and then with the baby on the way, how does all that mixing into your whole prize fighting stuff?
So as soon as I found out my girl was pregnant, I let my parents know, and then I called my manager, and I was like, "So, um, Annika's pregnant," and he was super happy for me, and he was like, "Well, let's get this win, whoop this bridge dude's ass, December 21st, and we'll get your pro career rolling." So like you said, I'm an amateur, but man, this is a career. Like, this is my career. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, this is my career. So whether I'm amateur or pro, this being my last amateur fight, um, but uh, but yeah.
You fought 5 times in 2023 and 2024. This is going to be your second fight of the year. Was that intentional? Was that by design, Bryce, or did it just kind of work out that way?
It just worked out that way because I mean I started just kind of like beating everybody there is to beat, and the more you win, the harder it is to get a fight. So December 2023 was Ben Rainwater, and I finished him. And then after that, it was so hard to get a fight. Like, I had like 5 or 6. I was trying to still stay active, fight as much this year as I possibly could, but everyone, like, I'd get a fight, pull out, I'd get a fight, pull out. They won't accept. So it was just that kind of sums up this year. But the fights that I did get, I've only had one fight this year, Luis. Um, the fights that Luis and this fight coming up are like very important, like high level fights. So I'd almost have it this way than just fighting a bunch of just anybody. And I'm fighting the best of the best. And this year has been about just getting ready to transition pro. So even if I fight 0 times this year was talked about with my team and my manager that this year was all about just tying the loose ends and getting the final touches before turning pro. So it really didn't matter how many fights I ended up with this year. It's just really transitioning to go pro.
Bryce, can you talk to me a little bit about the fight versus Luis Perez? You went down to Florida for that fight, and we spoke right before that one, and that was like a very rare fight for the amateur scene. Like, we don't typically see guys like you go up against guys like Luis. That takes two to tango. You guys put it all out on the line. What do you remember from that fight, and how special was it getting the win at the end of the night?
And that was a good fucking feeling because I knew how tough Luis was, and I learned a lot about him that night. He was honestly tougher than I thought he was. Um, but yeah, that was a really good feeling. I fit into Florida, the Florida MMA scene really well. I like it down there. I like the personalities, the energy. So I really liked fighting down there. I just didn't like fight. This is my first time ever having a fight with under Florida rules with shin guards and the small cage. So the shin guards and the small cage, it was not my style. I did not like it. It definitely changed the fight. But other than that, it was a great fight. I learned a lot about myself and Luis. I wanted to. If I had a little bit more time, I would have finished him at the end of the third round. He was done. But but yeah, yeah, it was a good fight. I learned a lot, and I just felt like I could have done a lot more. But it's just the shin guards in the small cage just really changed the fight, and yeah.
Well, I know you're a Louisiana slash Tennessee guy now, and for you, that meant going down to Florida. And Luis is like a presence, man. Like people come out in droves for that kid, and you're like, Darth Vader showing up on the scene. Nobody's trying to see this kid win. Nobody, everyone's going for Luis. Like, was that like even more fun being like the road guy? Because there are a lot of guys that actually like fighting in another dude's hometown because it's all about the fight and they don't really have to worry about anything else.
I really liked it. I honestly, like I said, I love the pressure of these fights. Makes me fight so much better. Like a lot of a lot of fighters, the pressure breaks them or like makes them not perform how they should. The pressure, I love it. Like it's not always enjoyable all the time, all the pressure, but I just know that like I can hone it and I can harness it and I can use it. And so like the more pressure that I feel like, the better I fight. And I man, there's nothing more satisfying than going into someone's hometown and beating them. And I know how satisfying that is, and I'm not giving that feeling over to Alex home in December. Like it's a good feeling. I like it, but I can play both sides. So
Bryce, you told me right before you're getting ready to take that fight, you said he's the best. He's the number one ranked guy on Tapology, and I'm going to prove to everybody that I'm the best. Like that is exactly what it was that you said. You're like, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to prove a point and I'm going to get this thing done. You go out there, mission accomplished. On your way home, like, a few days after the fight, like, do you like stop and like smell the roses a little bit? Because like what you did, like that was like a pretty big accomplishment. You went out there, you challenged yourself, you got the job done. Like, did you soak it all up for a little bit, or are you the type of guy where you just shrug your shoulders and go back to the gym on Saturday or on Sunday?
I've definitely soaked it up that night after I beat him.
I got you. I
had
got you.
had some fun after that night. But I've done that in my past where like after my fights I'll be on like such a high afterwards and I'll kind of sit in that. But I've also lost one time before. So and I seen Bryce Mitchell fought this last UFC card, and the lady reporter was like, "You don't really seem like you won," and he was like, "I don't want to get too attached to winning or losing, just because they both come, you know what I mean?" So I really felt that, and that's kind of how I am. I'll definitely smell the roses for a little bit, but I have just so much more ahead of me, and I have so much I want to accomplish that it's like I just gotta get right back into it and kind of just let the past be the past and focus on right now.
You're a young dude. You're a very special prospect. You have competed against the best. You've won multiple amateur titles. Tell me, like, what is like motivating you right now? Because there are a lot of guys in your situation. Like, you've won everything there is to win, but you still got that like hunger in your eyes. And off camera, you tell me a bunch of shit. And I know you're really fired up for this one, but there are a lot of guys that would kind of sit back and be like, man, I've accomplished everything there is to accomplish. I'm ready to go pro. What is motivating you right now to continue to ply your trade in the amateur ranks and take this fight first home?
Well, first thing is I just know where I'm at right now, and I know where I can be. Like this is so far from where I know I'm going and where I know the level and the just the person that I can be. And I'm just striving every day to be in that position, to be in the UFC. I want to be a champion. Like I really do mean that. And I really do believe myself that I will be and can be a UFC champion. So it's like, I'll take these wins and, I'll appreciate them. But at the end of the day, it's small because I have just so much more ahead of me. And I know there's only one way to get there. And it's putting my head down and just not getting too caught up in the moment, but just looking at the future and trusting God with my plan. That's really it is really what it is. I just know what I'm capable and my potential, and I just want to express that and become that, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. Now, I'm not going to say how I found out about your fight, but I'll say I've known about this fight for a minute now. Can you tell me a little bit, like, what happened behind the scenes? Because obviously you fight Luis, and this fight has been in the works for quite some time because this kid's coming over from Europe to fight you. How did the fight get brought to your attention? And can you tell me a little bit about how everything got put together behind the scenes?
Yeah, so right after the Luis fight, like a day or two after, I was in the Florida hotel room. there were storms there at that time, so my flight got delayed. So it was just me and my girl in the hotel room, and Steve calls me and he's just going through the options and like trying to figure out what's next. And he was like, "Do you want to go pro now, or do you want to take one more amateur fight? Because there's like one or two fights that I think would be really good for you in the amateur to do one more or go pro, because there's a argument for both. But it's at the end of the day, it's your say." And I was like, I I want, when I go pro, I want to say I fought literally everyone I could have before, because when you turn pro, it's different. You want to be more systematic with your fights. So like right now is the time to just take the hardest fights. And I was like, I think I'm still 21. I can fit one more fight in between the before the new year. And originally it was some guy named Jason Lanthrope. He's actually the number one amateur flyweight, but he don't fight nobody. He ain't had a fight in I don't know how long, so I don't know how he's sitting up there. But he didn't take the fight, and then a couple days later, Steve was like, "Well, there's this British kid. What do you think about um, fighting a British kid in Nashville?" And I was like, "Dude, what? Like, of course, I want to do that." And then he gave me the name, and I'm like looking, and I'm like, "Okay, this kid is talented. He's good. He's skilled. Like, there's a risk in fighting him, and I like that. That's perfect. That's perfect. That's what I want." And then like 2 days later, I get the call. Okay, like, you're gonna be on the main card. It's already set up. Fights accepted. Whoop de woo. And now, and after that, it's like, okay, we're on. That's
Well,
pretty.
this kid, it's pretty incredible, right? Because like you fought a very high level fight, which should have basically been like a pro fight. Like it was a pro level sort of fight when you fought Luis. Now you're fighting another really highly skilled guy just like you. And you're gonna be fighting your backyard this time. This kid's flying across the Atlantic Ocean to try to whip your ass, Bryce. So tell me about that, man. Like, how excited are you to get the to have the opportunity to fight in your backyard against a guy from England?
Dude, I don't think I've ever been more excited for a fight. Dude, I just have the privilege to, like, it's a privilege to be able to not only represent my gym, but in Nashville, but to represent America. Like, you got America's top flyweight, amateur flyweight, versus England's top amateur flyweight. So I literally get to represent the the cream of the crop of America, and he gets to represent his country. And I want to put a stamp on it. I don't want to win. I don't want to just win. I want to put a stamp on it. I want to show that there's levels. And don't get me wrong, I know how good he is. He looks very skilled, but I just think I'm different, man. I think I'm gonna put a different. I think he's gonna feel a different type of energy in the cage when we fight than he's fought before. I'm just gonna whoop his ass American style.
Well, you fought, as I mentioned before, very high level guys throughout your career. Luis being one of them, Ben Rainwater being the other one. Does he remind you at all of that level of talent of guys that you've already fought before?
He does, but he's definitely different. I think styles make matchups, and it's like every my last like 3 or 4 fights, I'm like, I just want to finish. I want a knockout, man, because I know I have the capability and I know I have the power behind my punches and the snap. But Styles makes fights, and I'm like, every time these last couple fights, I'm like, this is gonna be the guy that's gonna give me the opportunity. But it seems like everyone I fought in these past couple fights, they by the second, third round, they're just shooting for my legs and they're backing up. So I have to like chase them, chase them, chase them, chase them. And I know with this kid, he's confident in himself. He believes he's better than me, just like I believe I'm better than him. And I don't think he's gonna change his style up for me. I think he's gonna come out and fight me like how he fights everyone else, which is very striking based and upright. And that's what I want. I want you to strike with me. I want to have that. Let's see who strike. If you want to wrestle, we can do that too. I'm ready for it all. Don't get me wrong, but I'm ready to just stand in the middle of the cage and exchange with this dude. I don't think he'll run away and try to like shoot at my legs. He might once he gets hit like the rest of them, but I don't think he will. I think he will. I think he's got a big enough head on him. He's got some pride in him to where he won't. He'll stick to what he's good at. I'll stick to what I'm good at, and we'll see who's better.
Absolutely. Well, I don't want to ask you really too much more about the matchup. Let's let the fight speak for itself. But Bryce, I want to give you actually kind of like an opportunity, an open mic here. I want you to like tell everybody like what can they expect to see come fight night? What does the rest of the country need to know about you before you get ready to make the jump to the pros here?
Uh, Man, just remember the name, remember the face, remember the Raging Cajun, because I'm far from where I'm gonna be, and God willing, um, yeah, it's like I said, it's an honor to fight for America, to represent Nashville, and to just put this all this hard work and all this energy into something I love, and I get to do it, and with a bunch of support behind me, and a country behind me, my gym behind me, in my own city. So it's really just a blessing, and just be on the lookout, because um, yeah, after this, I think I'm gonna start making money, and really, I say start making money. That's just me, uh, a way of me saying I'm gonna go pro. But it ain't about the money for me. I promise, it's not about the money for me. It's got to be to an extent, but like this is my. I want to make this my career, my job, my everything, and yeah, I'm on the way up.
Well,
I'm on.
Bryce, you've put your time in and you fought enough for free. I think you've earned a paycheck or two. So,
Yeah.
that being said, Bryce, the floor is yours. If there's anyone that you want to thank, anyone that you need to shout out before I let you go, let's do it.
Shout out to my gym, of course, my head coach Dustin Ortiz. We've been really dialing down on my game this camp. Been spending a lot of time with me, and I really appreciate that. Uh, my manager Steve Swedish, of course, he's the man. He sets up everything. He's always in my corner, outside of fighting as well. Like, Steve's a true blessing. I really, really am grateful that he came into my life, and I don't have to worry about what's next. That's Steve's profession. So, yeah, shout out to Steve, all my teammates who push me every single day, and I hope I do the same for them. I know I do the same for them. But yeah, shout out to my baby mama back home. She's a she's a trooper. She's supporting me while she's pregnant, and it's just a crazy time in life. All my family, all my support system. Shout out to Aries, and shout out to you as well for yeah, putting my face out there. I really do appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Always a pleasure to have you on the program. Looking forward to having you back very, very soon.